Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Pews and Brews, where we have a couple brews and do a gun review. I'm Not So Tactical Tim, coming to you from the Not So Tactical Tavern because spring's almost here, the weather's breaking, and we can get back outside to do some of these reviews. Now, if you saw my Bear Creek Arsenal one, it was really snowy and cold, so I really haven't done anything in the last little bit just because the weather around here hasn't cooperated. But now we're going to get back into it, and today what we're going to look at is the the PX9 Generation 2. It's a polymer frame, striker fired, kind of a copy of the XD, Turkish made, imported by SDS Imports. Really solid looking gun from, just looking it over, haven't taken it out and fired it because, like in virtually all my reviews, what you see is going to be the first time that I fire this. We're going to take a bunch of rounds, reloads, hollow points, just regular ball ammo, take it out to the range, run it through its paces, check the reliability. There again, as always, I don't get super crazy about accuracy because everybody shoots differently. You can have, just like a set of golf clubs. A professional golfer is going to shoot a much better score with a crappy set of golf clubs than the average player ever will with the best set ever made. So, same thing goes with firearms. There are some people that are just more accurate, so we'll shoot around at some plates and stuff like that. But I'm not going to really show accuracy testing. Honestly, unless you have a ransom rest or something that you can really put it in, showing somebody fire something by hand really isn't the be-all, end-all of accuracy. What we want, especially for something like this in the 4-inch range, the polymer frame gun might be something that somebody would consider for a carry gun. Your ranges are going to be so close that accuracy isn't so much of an issue as reliability. That's what I am the biggest stickler for. If the gun don't shoot, it doesn't make any difference how accurate it is. So we're going to put a bunch of rounds of hollow points, like I said, and reloads and ball ammo through it, and check the reliability, see how it works. So let's go take a quick look. I'll show you what all comes with it. It's got some pretty neat little features to it. Then we'll get out to the range and we'll do some pewing. Stick around. We're going to go over everything that the gun comes with and a couple of the features of it. First thing we always want to do is remove the magazine, lock our slide back, verify there's nothing in the chamber. The chamber is empty. As far as the magazines go, it comes with two of them. They're 18 rounds, and they're the Macar mags, made in Italy. Same magazine that a Sig 226 uses, so really readily available magazines. It's not a special magazine for this particular gun. 226 mags are out there all over the place. One thing that it does come with, which I use that term loosely, is this holster. It's one place where they really kind of skimped out on this. It is a metal belt clip, and it does hold the gun firmly, but obviously, if you're going to carry it, you'd want to upgrade from that, but it comes with it. You'll see this is the OD green. It does come in black. Even the OD green was under $300, and the black is less expensive than the OD green, so we're looking at a sub 300 polymer frame gun, but it does have some pretty nice features on it. If you'll see here, it has an adjustable rear sight. Now the sights are just all black profiled, but you can, if you like a little contrast, you can paint the front sight, whatever you prefer. If you'll see on the back here, this red dot, that is a cocked indicator, not a loaded chamber indicator. We verify that the gun is empty, so we're going to pull the trigger. You'll see that pops in, and when it's cocked, it pops out. Another sort of unusual feature for a polymer frame gun is, speaking of red dots, you'll see it has an external safety, a manual safety, and it's ambidextrous. It does not have, like a Glock, it doesn't have the little trigger safety there, it doesn't have a backstrap safety on it, just this external safety. Some people like it, some don't. I actually kind of like that. A lot of my firearms have the external safety, so I'm used to it. But there again, another kind of unusual feature on a polymer frame gun. It comes with this little tool here, and what that's for is, in the back here, there's a pin. We push that pin out. Now, I already kind of tapped this out a little bit, and the reason why is, if you see this pin has 2 notches in it. If we slide our back strap back a little bit and lift it off, you'll see in the back here there's a spring wire that goes all the way around in that channel. That locks this pin in those grooves so it can't walk out. That's actually a pretty nice feature that somebody, you know, actually thought to put on this, that I'm sure leaving it off would have saved them a bunch of money. But having that anti-walk feature for this backstrap pin, you know, somebody put some thought into that. It comes with 3 back straps, a thick, a medium, and a thin. And this also has, which is unusual, interchangeable side panels. There again, a thick, a medium, and a thin. So you can really customize this to fit your hand, you know, fit your shooting the way you really like it. To reinstall this, sit it back on, slide it up. Just stick your pin in there, use the other side of the little tool, push the pin in. Now you would need to give it a little bit of a tap yet to lock it into those grooves. I'm not going to bother doing that right now. But there you go, everything's back together. It comes with this magwell extension. It just slides on like that, with the magazine in. Everything's flush. With the magwell off, base plate just sticks out a little bit. Now the magwell, I don't have it in for this video, but the magwell is held in with a little screw that goes in the bottom there. So there again, with that screw in, it's going to be good positive retention on that. A couple of the other little nice features that it has on it, it does have a rail on the bottom. You have your front and rear serrations. It does have some stippling on the front of the trigger guard, which there again is kind of unusual to find on something inexpensive like this, that somebody actually thought to put some stippling on that. So this might have been designed by somebody who actually shoots rather than just somebody looking to pump out an inexpensive firearm. As far as the takedown on this goes, very straightforward, very easy. Lock your slide back, rotate your takedown lever. Now here's where it gets a little strange. In the owner's manual under the takedown procedure, it says lock your slide back, rotate your takedown lever, then slowly release the slide forward and pull it off. I have been unable to get this slide off without physically pulling the trigger. Like anybody who owns a Glock knows, it has to be uncocked in order for it to, you know, to remove the slide. Once you pull the trigger, it comes right off. I don't know if I'm just doing something wrong or if it's something they failed to mention in the owner's manual, but if you can't get your slide off, that's why. You have to pull the trigger. It doesn't say that in the owner's manual as far as disassembly goes. Maybe it's just something they missed, I don't know. If you notice, the internals, very similar to Glock. I don't believe they're interchangeable at all, but very similar looking. You have a nice captured dual recoil spring there, and pretty standard 4-inch barrel. The one thing I will note on the barrel is, if you look at that feed ramp, now this is from the factory, that is almost a mirror polish on that feed ramp, and there is a little bit of chamfering on the mouth of the chamber there. So there again, somebody put some thought into this, they polished that up, chamfered that chamber a little bit, so this should feed pretty reliably, I'm thinking. There is a little bit of a flare on the end of the barrel there, which is a little unusual. So I don't know that, you know, like Glock barrels or anything like that, I don't know that they're going to be interchangeable with this. But there again, for something inexpensive like this, you're probably not going to take it and upgrade it with a, you're not going to buy a $300 gun and then put $500 worth of upgrades into it anyway. So reassembly, just drop your barrel back in, fed into the spring forward, make sure you're down in your groove, line up your rails, lock the slide back, rotate your takedown lever, there you go. Back together and ready to go to the range. Speaking of which, let's get this out there, run it through its paces, and see how it does. Okay, we're out here at the range, and we're going to see how this PX9 performs. I'm starting out with some CCI Blazers, just some plain old ball ammo to run the first few shots through it. I just threw 10 in here, even though it's an 18+1 mag, just to get some rounds through it, see how it performs. So, let's take a look. Well, function-wise, it seems pretty good. Might have to play around with these adjustable sights. It doesn't seem like they're real true, but reliability-wise and function-wise, looks pretty good. So now I think we'll move on to some hollow points, see how it does with those. Okay, we have our hollow points loaded up, so we'll give them a try. Okay, those definitely had a little more velocity to them, a little more punch. So compared to the Blazers, so obviously the ejection was a little better. I noticed with the Blazers, they weren't really coming out of there with a whole lot of authority, but a lot of that could just be because it's new, you know, need to get everything worked in a little bit. So now we're going to go and try some of my 124 grain lipstick bullet reloads. Okay, here's our 124 grain At-Me lipstick bullets. Give her a go. Okay, all those went right through it too. So, you know, that's already 30 rounds, 3 different kinds of ammo, hollow points, reloads, which is just a lead-coated bullet, and some factories, and ran through all of them without a hiccup whatsoever. So far it's looking pretty good. I think I'm going to load up some more of that Blazer ball ammo, and we'll try some little more rapid fire with it, see how it does. Okay, we're going to get a little more rapid fire with this. Lousy marksmanship, but very reliable. We're going to go back to some of my lipstick bullet reloads. I'm going to slow down and see if I can't figure out the sight picture on this a little bit. Yeah, I got to tune in the sight picture on a little bit. Might play around with the back straps, but it's running right through the ammo. Not a single misfire, not a single failure to feed, stovepipe, nothing. And we just ran through 50, 60 rounds. Brand new gun. I'm fairly impressed. Back from the range, back here at the tavern, and time for my favorite part of the video, grabbing a brew and wrapping up this review. Now, as you saw from, obviously a little bit of limited shooting, probably 50, 60 rounds I put through it, but this thing functioned perfectly. Slow fire, rapid fire, as I typically do in most of my videos, especially when I first take a gun out. I use some improper technique. I, kept myself really, really loose so that I wasn't putting as much resistance into the slide as possible to really get a true gauge of how reliable it is. Like I said in some of my previous videos, if you're using factory ammo with perfect technique, the gun should function reliably. When you're using a whole bunch of different ammo, using some improper technique, and it still functions reliably, I think that says more about the true quality and reliability of the gun than just having all the criteria be perfect and going, boy, this gun functions great. Well, it should, unless there's a problem with it. So, as you saw, my marksmanship notwithstanding, shot great, ran through everything, no jams, no stovepipes, nothing. You'll see when I shoot my 124 grain, the Acme lipstick bullets, there's a little more smoke and there's a little more recoil. Those I actually have set up with a little more punch behind them because I use those in my 9mm PCC, but I had a bunch of them on hand, and they are just a coated lead round nose. So I figured I'd try them out in this, and this handled them great. They're not overpressure for a handgun, but they're pretty stout, and this blew right through them. The one thing I did notice with the 115 grain spears, if you look at the ejection on it, it wasn't real strong on the ejection with those. Now, there again, that could have been, because the gun those were the first ones I ran through and the gun's new, so everything might be a little bit stiff on it yet. And also, I was being a little soft on the recoil just to see how well it functions. But even though it didn't have, real firm ejection, they all ejected. I had no issues with it whatsoever. So, I mean, I can really say that this thing functioned great. Like I said before, it is pretty much an XD copy, with the exception of it does have a manual safety. It doesn't have the trigger safety. It doesn't have a backstrap safety. It uses the Sig 226 magazines. So if you have any of those magazines, they'll pop right in here. Plus, magazine availability is very good. Sig's, the 226 is very popular. Mags are out there all over the place, fairly inexpensively. Other than that, I can say I really like it. I mean, it functioned good with those, and with the dual recoil spring in here, with those 115 grains, the recoil on this was very, very soft. Now, some of that has to do with the loads itself, might be on the softer side, but it was really a pleasure to shoot. It wasn't real jumpy. So yeah, there you go. If you have less than $300 sitting around and you want, what I feel like is a good quality pistol, maybe grab one of these little Zigana PX9 Gen 2s and then get out there and get pewing. We'll see you next time.